evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we tackle the issues, all those things that affect the customer experience at your store, whether it's the front of the store, the back of the store, or the middle. Doesn't really matter, because if you offer a stellar customer experience, they will come to you for everything you need, everything they need, when they need it. And therefore, you will have maximized all of your opportunity. And I am very fortunate to have a great network and a circle of friends that come on the show that share with us what they do or what they've done to improve the experience at their stores so that you can use some of those techniques for yourself. So this week is no exception. I have my friend Larry Feldman. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Thank you so kindly, Paul.
So for the one or two folks that may never have heard of this Larry Feldman guy, why don't you give us kind of your background, how you got into automotive, and don't go past fifth grade though, because then it takes way too long. We don't have that much time.
Well, my maturity level hasn't evolved much since fifth grade, so I guess I got into the car business by accident, like a lot of people do. I had a propensity and an ability for sales. I wound up being a partner at the dealership. When we sold, I did somebody a favor with recruiting and training and started a recruiting and training company. And I did sales training and recruiting for 4 years. A dealer in Florida said, Larry, we're in a meeting. We have 20 salespeople. You found, trained, and hired 15 of them, and the top 10 are all your guys. Can you find me service people? So, of course, I lied and said, sure, how hard can that be? No problem at all. That was 8 years ago, and now I'm all over the United States and even a little bit in Canada, finding every service position, every sales position. Heck, I just found somebody a title clerk. And that's it. Other than that, and being a musician and a ball player and happily married, even though my wife claims she isn't. That's it. Just trying to stay busy, stay out of trouble. Not easy when you hang around with Paul Meijer.
Man, I got to tell you, I always have fun when I see this guy, whether we're out and about having dinner somewhere, if we're in the same area, or and he's being humble with the musician thing because he has an incredible band. Last year, we made the trek to Pennsylvania to go see Larry and his band play, and we're doing the same thing this year. So always a good time when Larry Feldman is in the picture. So welcome. So we're going to talk tonight about sales training. We're going to talk about recruiting. What is sales training? What does it encompass?
Wait a minute, Paul. I thought this was the botany show. I studied up all day on plants and stuff. Never mind. I'll just try to.
No, that's tomorrow's show, Larry. Did I send you the wrong script?
No, but you said something about being in control of my own manure. You didn't quite terminology it that way. I just want to make sure I'm okay.
We're going to talk about key elements of effective sales training, sales team retention and development. And at any time, as you guys know that have seen this show, feel free to post any questions in the thread, and we do our best to keep up on the questions that come in. And I have somebody that's coming through here as LinkedIn user. So let me see if I could fix this here. There's some issue going on between LinkedIn and StreamYard. I think it's more of a LinkedIn issue myself, because when you view the show on YouTube or Facebook, it doesn't typically have that. So let me just open this up here, if I can see who that LinkedIn user is. Craig Tomasic. Okay, here we go. So on the phone, you can see it. On LinkedIn, you can't. So that tells me it's probably a LinkedIn issue. All right, importance of sales training. Why is it important? Do we just expect these people to walk in and know everything? Especially the last 4 years, Larry, have been somewhat interesting, right? We've been in a market where the cars were going out faster than we were able to keep up with the inventory. Some of the seasoned salespeople had gone, and some of the new people coming in, the sales training was basically this word track. Do you want the car? Yes or no? Because if you don't, we've got other buyers waiting. So take it or leave it, right? That was pretty much the word track. But now that's all changed because 2 years ago, when I was shopping for a car, 19 out of 21 never bothered to respond or follow up. Now I'm shopping for cars. Everybody is responding. Everybody's following up with phone calls, text messages, and emails. So sales training is important because a lot of these newer people have not been battle tested. They don't know anything beyond the take it or leave it. So talk to us about some of the things that you get into, Larry. Sales training wise.
Yeah, that could have been a dangerous question. I'll quote the late great Zig Ziglar, who said, "Training is like bathing; it doesn't last." So I recommend it daily. Because I'm a little out of my mind, as you're well aware, I tend to focus on things that are a little bit different, maybe a little bit less conventional. Whether it's an old vet who might have gotten a little bit out of sync, or somebody new that we're bringing into the industry, I just try to make them understand that, and this is going to sound a little strange, Paul, and hear me out, that they have a responsibility to themselves. Because a lot of times it's almost like they're doing it for their boss, or they're mad at their boss and they're going to do it to spite their boss. But it still comes down to, if you're going to be somewhere for 8 hours or 2 hours or 10 hours, doesn't it make more sense to be productive? I always love to quote Thoreau from last century, who said, "Most men lead lives of quiet desperation." I don't know if I have pity or contempt for people that get up every morning of their life and go, "Oh, I got to go to work. This is going to suck." They're there. They're miserable when they get there. They waste all day complaining and being miserable, and then they go home and rinse and repeat. So all I try to do is make it clear, hey, if you're going to go to work, organize yourself, have some fun, try to be constructive. Because I don't care how old you are, how young you are, what color you are, what religion, we're all the same in the sense that nothing's cooler than when you look at your watch, your iPhone, your computer, whatever it is, and say, wow, it's time to go home. The day flew by, as opposed to thinking that Einstein had the relativity theory backwards and the time is going backwards, because every time you look at your time, it seems like it didn't move or it went backwards. Just stay busy, have fun, be constructive. I just placed an ad for a dealer, and I'm going to have to, give him the come to Jesus moment, because one of the things he wants me to put in the ad, it must make 100 calls a day. Why would you want somebody to make 100 calls a day? It sounds like punishment. How about if we show them how to make 15 or 20 effective calls, rather than being burned out and burning everybody else out around them?
Let me get to a couple of comments before we get further. Nathan Williams, looking forward to tonight's automotive goodies. And Craig Tomazik said, evening, folks. Nathan Williams said, for some reason, your video keeps freezing on and off this week. I'm not sure. Is anyone else having that experience? Because I'm not seeing it. Peter Smith, welcome. Good evening, gentlemen. And my long-lost brother from another mother, Mark Rodriguez. Hey, Paul, hope you, your bride, and family are doing great. The phone is more important now than ever before. Hear, hear.
Hey, can I answer, Mark?
Absolutely.
Mark, I got to tell you, I respect you and I respect your comment, but I'm an outlier. I never thought the phone wasn't important. And I know I should be a little smarter and a little more mature, but my blood boils when people don't answer their phone, because I've actually gotten a ton of jobs because people say, wow, you actually answer your phone. They told me you did. It's not like I'm 100 years old. I remember when the phone rang at the house, everybody was excited because they wanted to see who it was and who it was for. So you are right, Mark, and you're right more than ever, because social media and iPhones and Samsungs and Googles have made us really stupid. The way we approach business, the way we approach each other socially has gotten completely out of bounds. Forget the fact that we don't know how to spell or add and subtract because it's on our phone. But is everybody watching this thing tonight as disgusted as I am, shakes their head when you see 4 people at a restaurant at the same table and they're all on their phone?
Yes.
Why bother? So I'm with you, Mark, 100%. I always try to answer my phone. I always try to respond. And I try to teach salespeople what an incredible tool it is. And that if you're the only person around that's actually answering their phone, you're good. One thing, Paul, and I'll get off my high horse with this. I was taught a really bitter lesson that always stuck with me. Early on, when I started my career as a salesperson, the GM of the dealership was leaving. And the operator said, boss, you have a call. And he said, tell him I left. And I just thought that was beyond stupid. If it was somebody with a small problem and you solve it, you're a hero. If you let it fester overnight, now they want to shoot you. What if it's somebody that wants to buy 2 cars and the money's burning a hole in his pocket? To hell with this guy. He's not there. I'll go to the next guy.
I've seen it happen. We have different styles of sales training, but the bottom line, I think, is very much the same. The focus really is on just getting the people to like you. If they like you, you've got the sale made. All right. I used to do some crazy things when I was at Lexus. My shtick was buy from Paul. Everything had buy from Paul on it. I had little stickers. As a matter of fact, this machine right here, it's so old. The plastic broke when I went to change the cartridge, but I can't bear to throw it away. So I have a rubber band holding it together and some clear tape on the end. I just can't lose it. But I had.
Well, you didn't tell me this was going to be a high-tech show. I would have brought my sundial and my abacus.
I had buy from Paul stickers everywhere. So customers would sit at my desk and I could see them as I was writing stuff down. They're looking at all these stickers all over the place. I even had an eye chart. You know how the eye chart has the letters that go from big to small? Well, I had whole sentences written out in the eye chart so I could see people reading the sentences. But when I know I had them is when I would start writing stuff and I'd have my head down like this. Because you know why, Larry?
You had a sticker on it that said buy from Paul.
I had a rubber stamp that said buy from Paul. I stamped my head. And as soon as they saw that, they were hysterical laughing. At that point, I knew I had them. And what I think you train your people is common sense stuff. Get the people to like you. Talk to me about some of the techniques that you instill in your folks.
Well, first of all, I teach people to smile. It seems to be a lost art with a lot of retail salespeople. I teach them to make one assumption, that everybody's a buyer, because most salespeople assume that nobody's a buyer. That's why so many people either get goldfish. That's where 3 people look at you through the glass, the window, like you're a goldfish, and go, he doesn't look like a buyer. What do you think? Let's send the rookie out. Okay. If we just understand that everybody that pulls in, if we get excited, everybody on the show, if you live with somebody, you occasionally have a tough day. I don't care how optimistic you are. And you go home and they say, what's the matter? What's wrong? Nothing. But how do they know there's something wrong? Is there a neon sign over our head? No, it's all over our face. Don't you think a customer sees when we're not happy to see them?
Media.
So, I just try to teach them to really embrace the idea of an attitude of gratitude, and that these customers are annuities, not annoyances, and to be excited. I just got done quoting, talking about Bill Russell, who's unquestionably the greatest winner in the history of sports, a guy that won 11 out of 13 championships, going up against the withering competition of Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, 2 championships in college, a gold medal in the Olympics. Guy threw up before every game. Now, I don't encourage people throwing up before every customer. That might be a little sloppy in the showroom. But how about getting excited? How about the fact that customers can see you're glad they're there, you're glad you're there? I think if we just get back to the basics and teach people to be excited, if we teach them to smile, and maybe the biggest thing, Paul, is to listen, because there's a misnomer. People think that great salesmen are great talkers. Great salesmen are great listeners. Salespeople. I'll get you in trouble here. It's about listening. Because if you come up with a really smart answer to a question they didn't ask, or you ignore the question they asked, you're lost. So if we can teach them to listen better, to smile more, to actually act like they're happy they're there. And of course, last but not least, how to plan their day. You don't want to be the human pinball where you're bounced all over the place. And it's astonishing how many people show up and say, I wonder what's going to happen, rather than here's what I've got planned to happen.
Now, there's several facets of training. You need to have all of the technical stuff down. You need to have that in your head. Not that you're going to use it all the time, because you're not. But you need to be prepared for anything and everything that can be possibly asked. You need to make sure that you know. Okay. Now, customers don't generally care about 100% of the car. They care about maybe 20% of the car.
And the hot buttons.
And the hot buttons, right? But you still have to know everything. Trust is a huge thing in sales. And if you ask somebody a question that you clearly don't know the answer to, and you just give them some BS off the cuff answer, which they can easily find out if they don't already know it, then you've lost a lot of stuff, right? I'll give you two scenarios. You have a salesperson and customer one, where the salesperson knows everything, and they tell the customer everything. Some stuff they have to tell them twice because they told them so much the customer kind of got lost. And that customer is asked, so how effective was the salesperson at communicating the information to you? And the customer says, yeah, it was pretty good. I give him a 7. Well, you and I both know that's a failing score in automotive. You got salesperson 2 and customer 2. That salesperson is very good at finding out what that 20% is that the customer actually cares about. Because, as Larry said moments earlier, he did more listening than talking. Finds out what 20% the customer cares about and tailors 80% of that conversation towards that. And that customer is asked, how effective was the salesperson? And the customer says, oh my God, that guy, that gal, unbelievable. Showed me everything and some. Definitely a 10. If I can give him an 11, I'll go with an 11. Meanwhile, salesperson 1 is like, well, what the hell is this? This person shortcut everything. And he gets a 10 and I get a 7, right? So the knowing the material, the technical specs, crucially important. But I think even more important than that is what Larry talks about is getting them to like you.
With Paul, you're well aware that I'm mentally unstable, but I'm likable, and it's always got me through every situation. Because here's the scary part is, if you're not likable, they're not getting to the other things. It's why the meet and greet is the most important step. Yeah, we know 30% of people make up their mind to buy on the demo and 30% on the walk around. But if you've insulted them or made them feel uncomfortable, you're not getting to the other steps, right? If the first date is horrible, you're probably not talking about getting married. If it doesn't start well, it's not going to end well.
Now, when you do your training programs, you go the road to the sale, A to Z. Are there specific things that you like to focus on?
I start with a bunch of stuff before I get to the sales process, because I try to change the way people think and their perception, because we're in a scary situation in our country, because it's the greatest country of all time. It's why people come here for an opportunity. And if you look at in the 1760s, 1770s, where Russia was, where France was, back then the expression was the sun never set on the British Empire. Look where those places are and where we are. We've survived a lot of great things. But one of the problems that we have, and we're going to continue to have unless something changes, we have a very failed education system. The amount of people that we're bringing up that can't read and can't write it at any kind of acceptable level is scary. So I think what you really have to focus on is making these people understand just the basic elements of being human, being alive. It's so scary, Paul. They talk about connectivity as getting your computer to sync up with your phone, or your phone to sync up with your nav in the car. How about the hell of connecting with people? Yeah. How about making them like you? And when they see that you're calling them, that's a call they pick up. So if we can focus on being likable, like you said, perfect. And focus on making, and think about it. There's nothing phony about it. If you're not excited about somebody that's helping you pay your bills, who are you excited about? And every good salesperson, you're living proof. Everybody sees the pictures of you with dining with people and having fun and being out there. These people aren't just customers. These people become friends. They can become business partners. People get married from people they meet on their job. So there's such an opportunity. There's almost no job where you find out this much information. Okay. You could argue possibly a doctor, but because they got to get all the information so that they don't run afoul of the HIPAA rules. But I don't think there's anything that combines the amount of personal information with the amount of information needed to pull you into the right orbit so you'll buy something. So that's an opportunity. Show you care, show you're interested. And man, the amount of business we pull from other business within this, right? You know the drill like I do. It's not about the deal. It's about all the deals that come after that deal from repeat and referral.
I always look at it, and I've said this for years. Every deal is a good deal. When I sold service, whether it was a $20 oil change at the time or a $1,600 brake job, each one is equally important because you get those $20 oil changes in and out quickly. They come back for their $1,600 brake job.
Wait a minute, Paul. The audio was a little bad. Did you say every deal is a good deal or every meal is a good meal? Because I've been to your house and you only have one picture of your wife, but you went to dinner last week with a GM and I saw 900 pictures of asparagus. I'm just checking.
John Frazier. Hey, Paul and Larry. Great show, guys.
Hey, John, how are you, sir? For anybody that doesn't know, John's a service manager, an incredible guy, pretty damn good sax player. His wife's in the business with him. Two of the nicest, most competent people you'll ever meet in your life.
So some of the pre-work stuff that you give the folks, give me an idea on some of that.
Okay. I show them a picture of Herschel Walker. For anybody that doesn't know, Herschel Walker stuttered when he was...
Is that football?
That's football. Herschel Walker stuttered when he was a child, and he wanted to be Superman. But he didn't put on a cape and jump off his barn. He did 3,500 sit-ups and 1,500 push-ups every day. He went to a college called Georgia. They won the national championship. He went to the Dallas Cowboys. He played in the USFL. He looks like he was chiseled out of granite and supposedly never lifted a weight. But how many people say, oh, I wish I could get in shape, but I don't have time to go to the gym? Well, you don't need a gym to do push-ups and sit-ups. So I try to make them understand how important it is to throw your excuses away. Because most of the things that stop us from being happy and healthy and successful are complete BS. But we have to call BS on ourselves. Exactly right. Well, listen, okay, you just pointed to your head. I talk about how I'm a little bit less of a sports fan now than I used to be. I'm tired of people complaining they only make $20 million a year. But when I was a kid, I was obsessed with sports, and I could probably still hold my own on some sports trivia shows. But the NBA, which I grew up loving because I was from Philly, and this is even before Julius Erving showed up. We had Will Chamberlain, great town for sports. But the NBA got in trouble because for a while the league was perceived as a bunch of guys using drugs, and it was so low in terms of customer interest. Nobody's going to believe this, but if you're a fan, you remember that the championship games were on tape delay. Imagine that. And then Larry Bird showed up and Magic Johnson and rekindled that whole league and that whole sport. But the great thing about him is, alluding to Paul's point, they weren't even the best athletes on their own teams. They were just the best between their ears, the way they thought the game, the way they pushed their teammates. So once we focus on how much of the world exists between your ears, if you can convince yourself that what you're doing is important, and that if you plan it and you take pride in it, that there's almost no limit or cap. Tell me any other job, Paul, where you give yourself a raise. You don't need your boss.
Right.
You don't need to go into somebody's office and say, please. Nope, you give yourself a job. The hustle in your heart has to outshine. Are we allowed to say bullshit? Yeah, it's Sunday in your brain and outweigh the lead in your ass. For anybody that doesn't know, John is no longer a Baptist minister, but if you go to his house with some liquor, this stuff just flows right through. That's why we love John.
Mental. You bring up a great point. So much of what we do is mental. We psych ourselves out for things, right? We create barriers that don't exist. The number of people that just go through life miserable.
Hold on. Let me throw this at you too, because you got my brain, or what's left of my brain, working. One of the things I talk about is to be successful in your life, and not just in your business. You have to break the conditioned boundaries. You have to stop saying, I can't, start saying, why the hell can't I? I love to ask, particularly young guys, again, since I believe we have a failed education system, what was penicillin derived from? very few people get that it was moldy bread. This changed the world. Before then, you got an infection, you lost your leg, or you died. I'm a musician, and I talk about the fact that the Beatles changed the world, brought all these British bands over. They were so little thought of that they put them with the guy that produced comedy records, George Martin. Luckily for the world, he was also a trained pianist, and he understood musical theory. They told Elvis to go back to driving a truck. Here's a handsome white guy that sounds like a black man in a country that's desegregating. And Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team. So you have to understand that your whole life, people are going to tell you, here's why you can't do it. The hell with them. Man, my father said it perfectly. God bless those that wish me well, and all the rest can go to hell. If somebody can help you, let them help you. If you can't, if somebody's going to try to drag you down, walk away from them if you can't elevate them.
So probably the strongest takeaway is believe it in your head and everything else will follow, right? And be happy.
But Paul, of course that's right. You said it beautifully, because if you get up in the morning and say, they always quote it as Henry Ford, but he stole it from Abraham Lincoln, that if you're sure you can or you're sure you can't, either way, you're right.
I saw a guy last night at a restaurant. This guy had a...
Wait a minute, this is shocking news. You went to a restaurant? I usually just go through the drive-thru at Wendy's, don't you?
Well, no, I actually go to the drive-thru. When I get off the plane, I make a detour. I get a large chili at Wendy's. So I do go to the drive-thru.
Do you have any pictures, Paul? Because I don't want to disappoint the audience.
Yeah, if it's not in pictures, it never happened, right?
Yes, sir.
But I see this guy, he's sitting there, just a happy look on the guy's face, right? Happier than some other people I see out and about. Well, I didn't really think much of it until I happened to look over, and he was being fed pizza. Turns out both of this guy's arms don't work. But he didn't let that stop his happiness. The guy was happier than some people I see walking around that have no physical ailments whatsoever. So it's all mental. It's so much that we can get achieved if we just mentally believe we can.
Paul, you came down, you mentioned it earlier, if anybody's tuning in late. I'm a musician, and Paul came to see my band play last Christmas. He's coming this Christmas, and he got a chance to meet my wife, who is absolutely as whacked out as I am, or how else could she live with me? Would you concur that she's a very happy, upbeat person?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think one of the reasons, a couple reasons. One, it's in your DNA or it's not. But also, my wife's in medical records technology, an expert with that stuff. And she was working at the Inglis House. Now, if you're not from Philly, you don't know. The Inglis House is a wheelchair community. Everybody's incapacitated. But everybody was happy. Instead of looking at all the negatives, they look at the fact, in my classes, I quote Roy Campanella, who was a great catcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers and was in a horrible accident. No drugs, no alcohol, but he slid on an icy road back when cars didn't have seatbelts or airbags. Never got out of the wheelchair. He wrote a book. The book wasn't called Why Does God Hate Me? It was called It's Good to Be Alive. And the more we understand that we're above ground and everybody dead would take every one of our problems in about 3 seconds. Every time I hear some idiot complaining that the plane's 8 minutes late, I tell him, why don't you go to a pediatric cancer ward and tell me how bad your day is? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Hold on. Would you tell my wife I was absolutely right about something? She won't believe you either. Just keep going. So, mental attitude, knowing the material. What other kind of things do you impart on them? Well, I make them understand. You got to have a roadmap. If you have a great navigation system and you never put the coordinates in, you're not going anywhere. Right. And a lot of people have a really bad concept of how to be successful in all business, but particularly the auto business. And it's astonishing how many people think the key to this is waiting at the front door for a stranger to come in with an ad in their hand. So I focus tremendously on how to follow up and how to prospect. And by doing it with some, won't be hard for you to believe, with some strange images and some humor, I try to make them understand how important it is to do that. Because if you can text 5 people a day who you know, if you can do 2 videos a day, if you can make it clear that you're out there, this is who you are, this is what you do, this is where you do it, and then you can follow up like a lunatic, this job becomes easy. Now, easy, I know, is a relative term. Nothing's really easy.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that a lot of people quit this business and a lot of people are unsuccessful because they let themselves get bored. But other than states like Ohio and Virginia, it is legal to write a referral check, and there's nobody that doesn't want that $100. Whatever state you're in, wealthy people drive their Bentley across town to save 3 cents on a gallon of gas. And as you said earlier about knowing, there's always something to learn. If you master your product line, you have to have a good feel for the competitors. When somebody comes in, you can't say their car is garbage. You got to say, that car is great, but let me tell you some advantages we have you might not be aware of.
When you know the material, the customer is naturally drawn to you because anything they ask you, you're able to give them a good answer to. All right. I had a phone call yesterday. I was helping a particular gentleman out. And as I was asking the questions to find out where the holes were, I was able to plug in numbers without having seen any of their metrics, without having even stepped foot in the store. I don't even know what the store looks like, but because I've been doing it a long time, by asking the right questions, I'm able to put together a roadmap for this person to improve their business. Okay. Now, you talk about being likable so that when customers come in, they see that you know what you're talking about. They like you. They're drawn to you. They naturally want to do business with you. Okay. The more times at bat, the more times you're going to hit the ball, right? So a way to, yes, you can text 5 people that you know every day, and you will reach a lot of people. I'm going to give you a tweak on how to reach thousands of people. I'm going to teach you how to reach thousands of people for free and become a trusted referral to not only all of the people that you know, but all of the people that they know. Okay. In everybody's DMS, you have lots of data. Now, Larry, where do most people, when you see somebody walking around or in their car or sitting down somewhere, what are they looking down at? What are they doing?
They're looking at their phone.
And particularly, where do they spend most of their time on their phone? Where do 5.17 billion people spend every day on the phone?
Google
and social media.
Oh yeah. Paul, I'm with you 100%. As I said, if you're not doing a couple of videos a day and tying yourself in with that, what a horrible mistake you're making. It's having a McDonald's with no golden arches up.
So I'm going to share with you how you can reach all these people that live in social media for free. All right. You go into your DMS, you pull a list of your best customers. That's your target list. Now you want to apply filters. You want to find out the ones that are on social media. You want to find the ones that create photo content, and you want to find the ones that create video content. You with me?
Absolutely.
Once you have your A list and B list, A is the ones that create video content on social media and online, and B list, which is the ones that create photo content online. Now you want to go into your DMS and you want to take a look and see when they're coming in for service. So let's say this nut job, Paul, creates a lot of online video and he's coming into your service department next Thursday at 10 a.m. I'm going to make it my business to go see Paul when he comes in. And if I don't know Paul, I'm going to bring an employee that does know Paul and his family to meet him at 10 o'clock next Thursday. I will have looked at his service history. So when Paul comes in, hey, Paul, how's it going? I was looking at the list of who's coming in for service today, and I saw your list on there. I took a look at the service history. It looks like it's been a great car for you. You come in a couple of times a year to do routine maintenance. I saw you had brakes done last August. you know, we really appreciate your loyalty, but there's something I've been meaning to ask you that I never had the opportunity to do. Can you tell me in 30 to 60 seconds what it is about what we do that does it for you, that you come here and you bring us all your business? Can you tell me that in 30 to 60 seconds? Chances are good, he's going to tell you. Once he tells you, that's powerful, because now you can ask Paul, wow, that's powerful, man. Can we share that on our Facebook? And can we tag you? And would you mind sharing that as well? Now, you're not just throwing a dart in the dark. You already established that this guy creates a lot of online video. So you asking him to be in a video, a 30 to 60 second testimonial video, is not that outlandish a question. And when he says yes, this is what you do. You grab your phone, you put it in selfie mode. You're both in the camera. Hey, I'm with Paul. Paul, why do you come here? Now you put the camera, so Paul's face is in the screen. So this is what you're looking at. And Paul tells you what reason why he comes and brings all his business to you. You then share that on social media. All right. Social media is good and bad at the same time. It's bad insofar as if you share really bad stuff, everybody believes it. But it's good insofar as if you have 10 people that create video content with you and they each have 500 friends, you giving a testimonial about the store, what they do for you, you just reached 5,000 people for free.
And with a much more powerful message. An old buddy of mine said, Larry, if you tell me you're handsome, I don't care. But if 4 women come up and say that guy's handsome, I believe it. When it's somebody else talking about your product and your store and you, makes all the difference in the world. That's brilliant, Paul. I couldn't agree with you more.
There you go. So now, because and I want to know what is the emotion behind the purchase, right? Because we make emotional purchases. So if he tells you or she tells you with emotion in 30 to 60 seconds, what I want the viewers to take away is not it's $3.99 a month, not you buy 3, you get 1 for a penny or you get 1 free. None of that BS. What I want the viewers to take away is, wow, my dealer doesn't make me feel that way. How powerful is that, Larry?
Well, not only is it powerful, it's great, but it points out the discrepancy between what we should be doing and what we're actually doing.
Correct.
What you're talking about is a little bit of effort to separate into the 2 columns.
Yeah.
Who does what, who's creating social content, having a plan, and actually doing the plan. And again, why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to be involved in things that can make you busy, can make you money, rather than say, I'm going to be here 8 hours. I wonder how bored I can be or how many distractions I can find from keeping me making money. I'm with you 100%. I think that's a great idea.
And let me tell you how powerful this is, okay? I had a relationship with a dealer, not in a don't ask, don't tell kind of way, a business relationship with a dealer. I bought several cars. My kids bought several cars. Friends bought several cars. And God only knows how many people online that saw that content went in and bought several cars, okay? When I bought a car from another dealer, my salesperson got a little bit funny. So funny, in fact, that he unfriended me on Facebook. So when I went into the store, I said, what gives? Why did you unfriend me, man? This is business. You were not able to do what I needed. Somebody else wanted the business and they got it. You can never take this personal. You know what he said to me? He says, I took it personal when the phone started to ring. What the hell are you talking about? He says, well, you know how every time you came in and you bought a car and you brought people in and you did all this content online? He says, yeah. And when you came for service, you created content in our service department? I said, yeah. He said, well, a lot of people saw that. So when you started blowing up the other dealer, when you bought your new car there, all these people saw that. And they were literally calling in the store to find out what we did as a store to piss you off, our good customer that caused you to go buy a car from somebody else. That's the power that you have. Most dealerships have thousands, some tens of thousands of customers in the database. If you do a little bit of work and you find that A and B list of customers, and now you leverage that, you're going to blow yourself up. And the other thing that you said too is Google, right, Larry?
Yes,
So
sir.
the Google strategy is you want to dominate Google. So you need to find out what the top search phrases are that people are searching for before they come in and buy your cars, your parts, or your service. Because the odds are good, the people that don't know you yet, if they're going to want to buy what you sell or your parts or service, they're going to do the same search. So before the customer goes over the curb, let's say you're selling widgets, right? And let's say the top search phrase is best widget near me. So before that customer goes over the curb, hey, Larry, let me ask you a question. Was this not the best widget purchased near you ever? What are you going to say?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Right? So now when they acknowledge that, you just say, hey, do me a favor, take out your phone, open the camera app. I want you to point it at this QR code right over here. And when they hit that, right, and they touch the button on their phone and the 5 empty stars from Google appear, here's the magic secret sauce, man. I hope I've done a nice job for you. Would you help me with a 5-star Google review? And Larry, don't overthink it, man. You just agreed this was the best widget purchased near you. Why don't you just share that and put my name next to it? How easy is that?
It's easy. By the way, you were nice enough to glide over the character flaw, because what I think that the guy that was pissed off at you should have said was, gosh, what can I do better and how can I get you back in the future? Every problem, every negative is an opportunity. Everybody that's a salesperson has had this happen. If your brain is working, yeah, I'm not buying a car for you. Great, let's just have some fun. And 2 hours later, they're signing papers. But not if you roll your eyes and look like you're upset with them from the beginning. You know, we only win here when we win, but we only win when the customer wins. And you're not going to sell. It's not football and it's not basketball. It's baseball. The last guy that hit 400 in the major leagues was a guy named Ted Williams. In 1941, he hit 406. 6 out of 10 times he didn't get a hit. We're not going to sell everybody. But for sure, if you can say to somebody, hey, looks like I missed you. Would you mind telling me I respect you? What can I do to be a little bit better? But you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's not like it's the last car you're ever going to buy.
You know, that is such a perfect point you brought up, because I remember years ago at Saab, okay, I had a customer that was the other guy's salesperson. The other guy was, the other guy there was his salesperson. But because he liked me and we had a great rapport going, all his friends came to me. His family came to me. His father-in-law came to me. These people would come from Pennsylvania to come buy cars from me in Westport, in Milford, because, I didn't get that initial sale, but I got all the other ones.
Paul, I've told you this before. When I do 2-day training, it depends on the length and who, particularly with newbies, I always send them out in between day 1 and 2 to say they're looking for a car for their sister who just had a baby. If they're guys our age, I say it's my daughter, because that makes you grandpa.
Yeah.
And astonishingly enough, all over the country, well, the reaction is, why isn't she here? What's her credit like? Tell her to look online. Now, I know this sounds apocryphal, but it actually happened. I was in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and luckily I got this guy a job. Immaculate, 3-piece suit, sharp as a tack. So the only reason he needed a job was his company had closed. And he left right from class to do this. He didn't change his clothes. And he went into a dealership and said, I'm looking for a car for my daughter who just had a baby. Guy's wearing a 3-piece suit, nice watch. And the moron that waited on him said, well, you got to come back with your daughter. Why? Maybe he was buying it for the daughter. Maybe the daughter said, Dad, I respect you. Just pick out what you want. Again, when we don't use our heads, when we don't have an attitude of gratitude, when we don't realize that you're not going to sell everybody, but you want to keep everybody within the periphery of possibly buying from you, it's crazy. I think the thing, if I was that guy or you were that guy, I would have called you and said, and it looks like I missed you. Would you do me a favor? You know, it's always great to say to ask people, would you do me a favor? Can you tell me what I could have done better? Because boy, do I miss having you as a customer. Now you would have had a twinge of guilt, and now you would have brought the guy a customer to make it up for it. Instead, you thought, what a jackass. He was my best buddy to get my business. Now that I don't give him his business, I don't exist.
It's crazy. Steve Apicella says customers don't want to feel manipulated, swayed, or pressured. It turns them off. Irregardless of what they're considering, they simply want to be educated by the experts. Education is the new sales model. Okay, I say, you ask any dealer I work with, they'll tell you that I tell them that every single time. They want to be educated by the experts and thereby feel informed about the products you represent and the services you provide. The truth inspires trust, and customers will make their purchases or their purchase and recurring business vote accordingly. Most people today are not losing their purchasing decisions because of how cheap you are, rather how well you conveyed and kept, and it cuts off. It doesn't give me the whole the message here, so I'll have to read that in the thread. But yeah, no, it's all about education. You know, a lot of people hire these sales trainers that come in and they teach your people verbal jujitsu. You can talk them in or out of anything. You know, oh, master closer. And a lot of these end up being those Monday morning phone calls, the dreaded Monday morning calls, right? Because you twisted somebody into something. As opposed to getting really good at finding out what's really important to them and then asking the specific and relevant questions to dig deeper so they feel that you're not just after their wallet, but you're actually after finding them the right vehicle for them. I'd rather ask the right questions, get them to like me, and get to the point where they're asking you, so what's next? How can we get started? How can I take this home, right? It's a complete role reversal of what we've done for so many times. Our business is all about control. That phrase from way back when, I don't even know what year, but hey, I can put you in this car today for X, as we crack the knuckles. People don't respond to that anymore. No. We educate them, we find out what's best for them, and we help them want to buy it. We basically guide them through a journey of self-discovery.
Well, Paul, you know, one of the questions I like to ask people is, when do you think you start closing a deal? Because a lot of people's concept is, I screwed it up, I insulted the guy's wife, now my manager comes in and, you know, you start closing the deal and you say, welcome to the dealership. Here's who I am. May I ask your name? Can I write it down? I'm terrible with names. I don't want to forget yours. This is not, listen, when I first start, particularly with new guys, I just had a fabulous class and an Infinity dealer. The guy couldn't get one person to walk in. I got him 9 solid choices. He's going crazy trying to figure out which one he wants to hire. And I already have a backup for the guys that aren't. But it's strictly a matter of making people feel good. I make people stand up and say who they are and what they've been doing and what they hope to learn. And they always say the same thing. I want to learn how to communicate better. Well, I always ask the same question. Do you have any brothers and sisters? Are you married? Do you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife? I do. Well, the hell are you asking me for? If you've got brothers, tell me who doesn't want to strangle their brothers and sisters around the holidays. Who doesn't? I think
Larry, why wait till the holidays?
That's true. Well, you would like to be expedient, another good word for sales. I think the government has a secret program. Apicella would know about this because he's brilliant. The government has a secret program where they cloned the uncle for everybody. Everybody has the same drunk uncle that wants to start a fight in front of the TV on Thanksgiving while the football game's on. It's always the same guy. Listen, if we're smart, we treat people the way we want to be treated. We make them smile. We show that we care. And this gets easy. Because if you do your own mystery shopping and you see who we're competing against, it's frightening. The amount of disrespect, the amount of people that don't listen. The amount
Yep.
of people would rather sell you what they want to sell than what you want to buy.
There you go. And you know what? Something you bring an interesting point, right? You see how horrible the other people are. So you don't even have to be the top of everything. If you and I are being chased by a bear, I just need to be able to run faster than you, Larry.
It's hard to do that when you've eaten a 19-course meal, Paul. I just had a burger at Five Guys. I'm going to outrun you, my brother. You're going to be bear food. Anybody who tunes in next week, the bear got him. It'll be the Larry Feldman show.
Panic Studio says hi from YouTube. I'm not sure who Panic Studio is, but welcome. I think this might be the first time I've seen you tune into the show.
Well,
So
thanks for tuning in.
How did you hear about us? So I don't want the time to get away. I do want to get into a little bit about recruiting. Okay, so we gave them some actionable tips on sales, how to improve ourselves, how to reach massive audience for free. Everybody cries about, oh, I can't get people. Give me some of the secret sauce on how do you recruit the top talent?
Sure. Call me. You can't do it on your own. You're terrible. And I'm sorry, we're not supposed to pitch. Listen, it's really simple. Make your ads attractive and make sure you're responsive, because it's scary and listen, I'm very grateful. They've made me very wealthy. Okay. It's very, very sad how we look for help. Okay. The ads that we put out are too complicated. They're too difficult. They almost discourage people. And then there's 97 hoop chefs. I had 9 people in class. I honestly think the whole 9 are going to get hired because they've got a sister store. And I asked every one of them, you're not offending me, how many of you applied for other jobs? They all put their hands up. I said, do you know why you're sitting here? Because when you hit the button with me, the next second, either me or one of my assistants called you. It's just about being expedient. Think about how frustrated people get when it takes 2 extra seconds for their computer to boot up.
Yeah.
You need to be expedient. You need to make sure your system works. You need to make sure that you realize how important the people are. And once you get them, okay, you've got to do a better job of keeping them happy. Half the marriages in this country end in divorce. They hug, they kiss, they have sex, they forever and forever. 6 months later, they're calling a lawyer because they're not smart enough to realize, you know what? Somebody likes me, I like them, we're together. Maybe it takes a little bit more effort to stay together, because we always know the grass is not greener, Paul. We both are of an age where we have friends that got divorced and remarried, and boy, do they wish they had the first wife back. So how do you do this? You understand.
Not all, Larry. Larry, not all. Not all. But the first one back.
And by the way, for anybody that's watching and is curious about the status of Paul's first wife, the police never found the body. It's Connecticut. They're not even interested. It's an election year. So how do you recruit better? You put out ads that actually make sense to people. You're on top of it. You make it just as expedient as you would deal with any customer. And you make sure you have a process that does not impede, but actually pushes forward, makes it easy for somebody. And then once you get them, hang on to them. I'm very grateful to all the dealers and the networks out there that do a horrible job of retention. Myself, my wife, my accountant, we thank you. But hold on to your people. Make it clear to them how important it is. You just saw Jeff Shearer flash on and said, Jeff Shearer called me, heard about me. I tried to get his son a job. His son got a job on his own, but because I showed a little concern, which was easy because Jeff and his son are 2 of the nicest people in North America, we've become inseparable friends. And all this guy's done, besides being a friend, is get me business. It was my pleasure to try to help him. So if our attitude is, what a pleasure it is. Boy, am I glad you called. Let me tell you about the job. When's convenient for you? Make it easy for people, but we should be big staple buttons in life and in business. Let's make it easy for people to communicate with us, to love us, to be friends with us. Because when you do that, life gets easy. Find a way to make your system easy. Find a way to really work hard to retain people, Don't be afraid to tell them how much you appreciate them. Be very fair with your pay. And if all else fails, God forbid, you know how to reach me. I've been doing this stuff for 12 years, and I must be successful because I'm a lunatic and people keep calling me.
Wow. Some really revolutionary ideas. Put something out that's interesting. Actually answer the phone. Show that you care and follow up. Larry, what the hell are you trying to do
Listen,
here?
you're trying to be facetious, but I'll tell you what, I got an exercise for everybody on this call, and thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Call 10 dealers. See how many people answer the phone. Leave a message. My car is on fire. It's electric, and my wife, my dog, and the cash I was going to use for the next purchase are in the car. Nobody calls you. Call up and say, I just hit the damn lottery. I want to buy 7 cars. Nobody calls you back. So you're being facetious, but the funny thing isn't that you're being facetious. It's how idiotic our approach to life and business is. Listen, let me tell you all, I tell people you're not going to sell everybody a car. But the good news is in 100 years, we're all going to be dead and none of this is going to matter. So get up out of bed, go to work, have fun, have pizza, have sex, be nice to your kids, call your mother, and realize that one day you're not going to be able to do it. So and once you master that, look how much fun your life is. The people that I know on this call, whether it's John Fraser or Jeff or Apicella or Paul himself, know I'm a complete nut. But Paul looks forward to talking to me and seeing me, and it is a mutual feeling. He knows he's going to laugh his butt off. What would happen if he said to his wife, Larry's okay, but he's just really annoying or he's boring? No, he knows that if he hangs with me, we're going to laugh our butts off. Be that way with your customer. Be that way with your employees. Make it a pleasure for them to talk to you. Not, listen, I got to tell you right up front, we hardly hire anybody. Can you send a blood sample in?
And let me tell you, have a process and have that process make sense. Okay. I'll tell you a short story about an experience I had with a screen door company. We hadn't had a lock on the screen door forever.
Is this the submarine story? Because I heard this.
No.
Okay.
We had not had a key for our front screen door forever. My wife threatened to go out and buy a new screen door. I'm like, that's a lot of money. No, I got to figure this out. So I took the lock cylinder out. I go to the hardware store. The guy says, what kind of door do you have? I said, I have no idea. There's no name on it. He tells me where to look. I go, look, son of a gun. There's the name of the company plus the model number and everything. And guess what? They had an 800 number. So I figure, why go back to the hardware store, pay the middleman, when I could just buy the lock from the company? I already took it out, so clearly I know how to put it back in. So I call the number. I buy the lock. All right. Then I'm looking at the handle. The handle's kind of hanging down a little bit. It's easy to push the door open. So now I figured, you know what? I probably need to replace the spring assembly because that's why the dog is able to push the door open. So I call him back 2 hours later. I said, I'd like to buy the spring assembly. So I said, but I want to see it that it's the same thing. What's the part number? Where do I see it? She gives me the number. I look it up on Google. Son of a gun. The spring assembly includes the lock I purchased 2 hours earlier. So I said, well, I want to buy the spring assembly, so I don't really need the lock assembly by itself anymore. Can you just cancel the lock assembly and I'll buy the whole spring assembly? She says, well, you're beyond the 1 hour. What? You're beyond the 1 hour to cancel.
Whoa. Paul said, how can you be successful at recruiting? Do not hire this woman he's talking about to be your HR person.
So I said, beyond the hour? You got to be kidding. You mean to tell me that somebody went to the warehouse, picked the part, put it in a box, and already shipped it to me? Well, no, but you have an hour to cancel. Well, I don't need the lock cylinder. I want to buy the whole piece. She says, look, I have an idea. Just refuse the package for the lock cylinder when it comes. What? You mean I paid you for the lock cylinder. You paid processing charge. Now you're going to pay to ship it to Connecticut from wherever the hell you are. I'm going to refuse it. And then you're going to pay shipping back. And then you're going to refund my money and pay processing fees. That's how I return it. She says, yeah, that's our policy.
Now hold on. How about if she said, you know, sir, we usually have a 1 hour policy, but I'm going to make an exception for you. You seem really nice. Now she locked you up now you're going around to everybody that has a screen door and saying, boy, do I have an inside talk to Daisy at the screen door company.
So it took about 3 weeks, but they refunded my money and they paid money for shipping and processing for nothing, not to mention the employee that could have been doing something else. So have a good process. Like Larry said, be available and show that you're interested and make it happen.
And remember what Einstein said. They said, what's the difference between genius and stupidity? And he said, genius has its limits.
Oh my God. How did I ever find you, man?
You got lucky or you got cursed. I don't know. It's the eye of the beholder.
Larry, you and I always have fun when we get together. I look forward to each new time. I can't believe it, but an hour has come and gone already, man.
Luckily, it's not an hour and 1 minute, or I'd have to rescind the show because we have strict limits here.
To those watching live, thank you. To those watching on the replay, thank you. Everybody has the same complaints. I need people. It's not going to happen on its own. In this post on LinkedIn, Larry is tagged. I am tagged. Reach out to the guy. The worst thing that can happen.
There's a special. If they call and reference the show, I charge them 1.5 times more than what I normally charge. I mean, it never seems to work when you offer a discount. So let's go the other direction.
You have nothing to lose. I know everybody's looking for people. This guy can help you. So, Larry, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. You're as gracious a host as I've ever met, Paul, and it's a pleasure hanging around with you and your wife.
Any final thoughts?
You know what? I wrote a book called Inner Moron Demons, and my father always said this, and I didn't realize until I researched it when I finally put the book out that it was an old Jewish proverb. It said, I thought I was bad off with no shoes till I met a man with no feet. Understand that as bad as you think it is, thank you so much, as bad as your day's going, you're alive, you're breathing, make the most of it, go out and have some fun, go out and make somebody else's day better. And that's it. And Paul, can't thank you enough. I mean, it's always a pleasure to hang around with you. And thank you for everybody that tuned in.
All right, stay on after we go off. Thank you very much. Have a safe and successful next week, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.